Good morning again, everyone. And now we will continue our discussion on the Module 2 of the unfolding of the biological self. Last time, we have discussed about the physical dimension of the self, and we were able to understand the different dimensions of the self in terms of our physical being, the biological blueprint, the influence of heredity and maturation, and you also have tackled the prenatal development and discuss about pregnancy, and of course the influence of maturity. And now we will be focusing on the influences of other social group, like our family. Our family, being our first social group, helps form a crucial foundation of our development, including our physical self. Aside from factors of heredity, our family is also primarily responsible for how we take care of our bodies, our nutrition, sustenance, and initially established by what was served in our table. And then as we get older, we are exposed and engaged in relationship with other group of individuals. Like yung ating mga classmates in preschool, mga kapitbahay natin, at yung iba pa nating mga subgroups. We become more conscious of our physical appearance as time goes on. We begin to take note of our height. Kaya nga, di ba, ng mga bata tayo, kino-compare natin yung height natin sa iba ding mga bata. Facial features and other physical characteristics in comparison with our peers. We start being conscious of our appearance. Ayaw mo na nagsusuot ng mga sira-sirang damit. Diba? We start being conscious kasi. Especially during the period of adolescence, lalo na ngayon. Dahil sa siyempre dapat laging may ganda points or pogi points. As a result, we begin in engaging in acts that would make us attractive and acceptable to others. Kaya nga, sa unahan ng discussion natin, pinag-usapan natin yung appearance natin. Am I beautiful? No? Ano kaya ang tingin ng ibang mga tao sa aking itsura? So may influence yan sa physical self natin. One aspect of beauty is the body type. So alam natin na ngayon uso yung tinatawag natin na body shaming, which should not be the case because we should be proud of what we have. Diba? Pinaghirapan natin yan. Diba? And the reason is because the contemporary media portrayed thin bodies as the ideal body type for women and muscular naman para sa mga men. Adolescents indulge in activities that would enable them to achieve these ideal body types. For some, having a healthy lifestyle like eating the right food, engaging in exercises are some of their steps to achieve their ideal body. So later on, I'll give you some tips on how to appreciate what we have and to develop our physical being. So it is essential for us to achieve physical well-being. Although there's nothing wrong with enhancing our physical self, like kung kayo ay gumagamit halimbawa ng gluta, pampaputi, there's nothing wrong with it. Okay? Yung iba pa nga nag-engage doon sa tinatawag natin ng mga surgical anong tawag doon? Yan, sa surgery. Yan. So para lang ma-enhance yung kanilang physical self. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what is problematic is when we focus on too much on physical beauty. Na minsan yung itsura mo ay iba na doon sa original mong itsura. Okay? So We have to take care of our body and we have to take care of our plastic surgery. Thank you for that. No? We have to take care of our body. And sometimes, it has something to do with our mindset eh. Kasi kung yan yung dinidikta ng society, minsan sunod lang tayo ng sunod. So here are some of the tips to achieve physical well-being. Okay? Eat healthy. So we need to have the right combination of food to ensure our health and sustenance. Having the right diet will result in healthy skin and ideal weight and better stamina na kailangan natin lalo na ngayong pandemya. No? Although there are probably limited supply of food, but still, meron pa rin tayong mga makukuhang masustansang pagkain. We have to embrace a healthy lifestyle. So lalo na kayo mga teens, avoid drinking and smoking because it is unhealthy. Okay? So kapag tayo ay hindi umiinom ng alak o naninigarilyo, we reduce the risk of illnesses and disease. Magkakaroon tayo ng stronger immune system. And we also have to engage in physical activities like walking, running, going to the gym. It would also contribute to healthier body. Yan, having the right hygiene is also important, no? Yung kahit na online classes, maganda rin na naliligo naman kayo. Di ba? O kaya naman ay nagsusuklay naman kahit na hindi niyo pinapakita yung mukha ninyo sa screen. Okay? So you have to take care of your body and maintain hygiene. Okay? And then, confidence is the best makeup that you can wear. Okay? So you have to be secure na kung ano yung meron tayo, kung ano yung ipinagkaloob sa atin, dapat ay tinatanggap natin yan ng buong puso. Di ba? We have to take care of ourselves. Now, sometimes acceptance is very important, ha? Important ang acceptance natin sa mga na-experience natin. Okay? So, now we move on to the sexual self. So, at the end of this, you are expected to discuss and elaborate concepts associated with the sexual self, including sex and gender. Now, identify factors that contribute to one's sexual development and explain how one can manifest responsible sexual behavior. So, pag-aaralan natin yan mamaya. But now, agree or disagree muna tayo. A or D? Agree or disagree? We cannot control sexual urges. Agree or disagree? Okay, so others disagree. There are a few who agreed. Ayan. Thank you for that answer. I don't know. Essentially, sexual urges is part of our system. However, it can be managed. Okay, we can manage our sexual urges. Of course, we can do that. No? Next. Yan. Our sexuality ba is purely biological? Agree or disagree? Disagree. Our sexuality is purely biological. Some of you disagree. And later on, no, mag-focus tayo dito sa issue na to. And then, sexual orientations embody cognitive, affective, and behavioral domain. Totoo ba yan? Agree or disagree? Okay. Ka-agree tayo. And yung sexual orientation natin mamaya, no? Kasi ang alam ng madami, pag sinabi nating sex, dichotomous or left or right lang. But later on, we will have more of that. And then, we are born with sexuality. Do you agree with this? Are we all born with sexuality? Agree or disagree? So, many agreed again. And last, sex and gender are the same. Agree or disagree? Okay, so you disagreed with this. So later on, pag-uusapan natin yan, ha? So I will be asking some questions from you. So let's now start. A vital aspect of one's identity is the sexual self that encompasses biological, physical, emotional, and social domain. So ang sexual self natin, hindi lang siya physical, hindi siya purely physiological, meron din siyang emotional, social aspect. Okay? So like for example, hindi din natin masasabi na ito ay basic needs, no? Yung sexual urges. No? Hindi naman siya basic need. Hindi rin siya yung sinasabi natin na secondary need. No? Part siya ng tertiary needs. No? Kasi kahit na hindi siya social needs, kailangan pa rin ng katawan. But even if it is a social need, hindi mo naman kailangan talaga na may partner to achieve this. Okay? And then, yung mga hindi naman siya pure physical kasi pwedeng psychological lang. You may be able to achieve already, no, yung sexual gratification or need na kailangan mo. While it is initially rooted in distinguishing physical attributes found in penis and vagina, no, at birth, yan yung assigned sex natin. Kung ano yung reproductive system na meron tayo, that is evident. No? Bodily transformations and development of secondary sexual characteristics during adolescence would eventually trigger physiological responses leading to beliefs and behavior associated with sex. And during adolescence, nako, sa edad ninyo ngayon, napakataas ng level ng sexual curiosity. And it is often at its peak with adolescents engaging in sexual activity as a result of biological and sociocultural forces at work. Further, this stage sets the tone for the gender orientation an adolescent adopts. So it is important to be aware of one's sexuality, his thoughts, and behavior in order to make responsible choices concerning one's sexual self. So now I'd like to ask you, ano ang difference ng sex and gender? Check nga natin. Who would like to volunteer? O magbo-volunteer na ako ulit? Volunteer, who would like to answer? What's the difference between sex and gender? Aha, sige. Tanungin natin si Kurt. Kurt Roger.
Yes, sir.
Ano ang difference ng sex and gender?
Sir, sex is your biological or physiological or statue, sir. And in gender po, yung ano po, yung characteristic mo or yung state mo po sa social. Yun po, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Kurt. Si ano naman, si Nicole. Nicole, pagdatoon, what do you think
Hello,
is the difference between sex and gender?
hello po.
Go.
Hello. Ay, naririnig po.
Yes.
Ang sex is the biological characteristics ng person. And example, yung reproductive organs, doon na-determine yung sex ng tao. And yung gender is the socially constructed characteristics. Yung parang roles na kukunin sa society.
Mhm.
Yun lang po.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nicole. And last, check natin. Sean, Kenneth, Sia, what do you think is the difference between sex and gender?
Sir, rinig po ba ako?
Yes, Sean, go.
Sir, medyo pareho lang din po yung sagot ko po sa dalawa pong una. So yung sex po, yun po yung male, female at nalalaman lang po yun kung based sa organs po na meron yung tao. So biological po. Tapos yung gender po, yung example po ng mga yung feminine, masculine, gano'n po. Dahil po yun po yung parang socially na yun po yung ano sir, based on social construct or
In
parang
the sex.
social perspective po. Opo.
Okay, thank you very much, Sean. Yeah, so like what they said, no, ang sexuality is dependent on the physical feature, so the genital. So most of the time, one sexuality and gender orientation are generally the same. However, no, so mayroong pagkakaiba yung tinatawag natin na sex and gender orientation. Pag sinabi natin sex, one's assignment upon birth. Kaya tinatawag din siyang biological sex, no? Para hindi na siya malito sa gender. Biological sex, one's assignment. So kung ano yung assignment mo during birth, yun yung sex mo. Pero ang gender, learned and embraced by the individual. So it has something to do with how a person constructed this in his being. Okay? It also includes yung relative power and influence of each. This also includes the relative power influence of each, no? Indicating gender is relational. So, pag sinabing gender, hindi lang basta lalaki o babae, no? But how you relate with other people and how you feel about yourself. And it is anchored on social belief, societal belief. So like for example, marami tayong mga sinuunang paniniwala na mga lalaki dapat malakas, ang mga babae sa bahay. Yan yung mga roles na constructed ng society natin. Okay, so we also know yung difference ng X and Y chromosomes. Yan, so medyo dito, mali lang yung may error dito sa X and X. X and X for female and X and Y for male, di ba? So ang mga male ay nagko-contribute ng tinatawag natin na X and Y chromosome. So kapag since ang female parehong X lang kino-contribute niyan, pag ang lalaki nag-contribute ng X, X and X yun, so that would be female. Pag ang kinontribute ng male ay Y, that would be male. Kaya sabi ko last time, yung sperm cell ang nagde-determine ng sex ng baby. Pero meron din tayong mga abnormalities katulad ng Klinefelter syndrome in which two X and a Y are present, no? XYY. And then meron pa tayong mga XO, XXYY, or triple X. So these are all aberration pagdating sa ating mga genes. So when physiological changes are triggered within individuals' reproductive system, an adolescent is likely to experience sexual urge. Ang sexual urge usually natitrigger yan pagdating natin ng adolescent puberty. May malaking pagbabago sa ating mga pangangatawan. Halimbawa ay may kinalaman sa ating sa genitals, may mga pagbabago dyan. Yung mga dating wala, nagkakaroon. Yung mga dating meron, meron pa rin. Pero mga dating maliit, ayun, maliit pa rin. Ayan, so ito yung mga changes no, sa ating mga katawan. And evident naman if we experience sexual urge or arousal. In men, it is natural to experience erection during arousing moment. Okay? For women, may vaginal lubrication. Yun yung likely response. So if sexual arousal is satisfied through sexual intercourse, men would experience ejaculation, while women would reach orgasm. So meron tayong normal sexual cycle, di ba? Nagsimula yun sa desire, excitement, plateau, and then orgasm, and then resolution. So yun yung sa lalaki. Sa babae, desire, excitement, plateau, orgasm. Kasi capable sila of multiple orgasm. So after experiencing ejaculation, nagkakaroon ng mga lalaki ng refractory period or the period of rest. Okay? So mas longer ang refractory period sa mga lalaki as compared sa mga babae. Kaya ang mga babae is capable of multiple orgasm. So the bodily sensations are normal and in typically in sexual activity since hormones produced within the body trigger these physiological responses. Now, ito din ay dependent doon sa level of hormones na meron tayo. At kapag nagkaroon ng problema pagdating doon sa different sexual cycle, pag nagkaroon ng problema dyan, ang possibility o ang mangyayari ay, magkakaroon tayong tinatawag na sexual disorders. Ano mga sexual disorder? Halimbawa, yung early ejaculation. So, kumbaga, hindi pa nakakapag-penetrate, nakakarating ka na sa orgasm sa mga lalaki. Or erectile dysfunction, incapable of erection. Sa mga babae naman, meron tinatawag na painful insertion, yung tinatawag natin na vaginismus or yung kalimutan ko yung pangalan niya, no? Na it would be painful for women during sexual intercourse. Okay? So, kapag naman wala tayong problema dyan sa cycle, it would be a complete cycle. And this complete cycle would lead to sexual satisfaction. When adolescents feel sexual urge, they are likely to engage in sexual activity that would satisfy those urges. However, sexual activities they engage in varieties of ways. No? And it is common occurrence to watch mga sexual activities na ang mga adolescents ay engage. Pwedeng nanonood or nagbabasa ng mga pornographic materials. No, minsan kahit sa FB, ang dami mong pwedeng maging source diyan. Di ba? Engaging in kissing and petting and performing masturbation or act of stimulating one's genital for sexual pleasure. Ang tanong, makakasama ba sa aking katawan ng masturbation? Medical professionals have cited the health benefits of masturbation, including stress relief, better sleep, improved self-esteem, and enhanced body image. And it is a better alternative to sexual intercourse, which may result to pregnancy or getting sexually transmitted disease. However, kung 3 times a day mo na yung ginagawa, there's something wrong with you naman. Okay, so there is something wrong kapag ikaw naman ay nag-engage doon sa masturbation na almost every day, 3 times a day. So, hindi rin siya maganda. Okay? So, yung iba once a week, no, ay nakakatulong na sa kanila yan. However, very important, no, para sa atin na maintindihan na itong mga ganitong activity should be done carefully, no? And yung pagka nandun yung need. And we have to manage that. Now, I'd like to show you, no, itong slide na may kinalaman sa gender orientation natin. Ayan. So ito yung tinatawag natin na gender bread. Itong gender bread na ito ang tutulong sa atin para ma-identify ano-ano ba itong iba't ibang mga genders natin. Okay? So, nandyan yung, kasi nga, gender is one of the things that everyone thinks they understand, but most people really don't. Gender is not binary, hindi ito male and female. It is not either or. In many cases, it's both. No, or and. A bit of this and a dash of that. Yeah. So itong guide na to would help us to understand ano ba yung gender. So meron kasi tayong tinatawag na gender identity at meron din tayong tinatawag na gender attraction and gender expression. So as you can notice, they are all related to each other, no? Iba din yung sex. Iba din yung sex, no? Expression connected dun sa identity. Yung attraction is also separate and sex is also separate as well. So pag sinabi natin sex, it is biological. So yung physiological structure ng ating genital organ. So ang sex could be, it could be male or female, or meron tayong tinatawag na intersex. Ito yung mga may hermaphroditism. Okay, and then we have gender orientation. Ito yung ating sexual attraction. Ano ang sinasagot na tanong ng gender orientation? Kanino ako attracted? Sino bang mahal ko? Yun yung orientation. Okay? So meron tayong iba't ibang sexual orientation. Nandyan yung heterosexual. You are attracted to your opposite sex. Meron din homosexual. You are attracted to the same sex. Pero meron din tayong bisexual. You can be attracted to both male and female. At meron din tayong asexual. You are not attracted to any. At meron din naman pansexual. You are attracted to all. Okay? Multiple, sabi. And then, gender identity refers to persons deeply internal and individual experience of gender, which may or may not, ito yung pakiramdam mo, gender identity mo, no, na pwedeng hindi pasok sa assigned sex mo. Ito yung sagot sa tanong na, who am I? So ang gender identity mo could be man or a woman, or two-spirited, or transgender, or agender. Wala kang gender. Okay? So, ito namang identity identity and gender expression are related, no? Pero, kung yung gender identity natin is within ourselves, itong gender expression natin, ito naman yung paano mo ini-express, inilalabas yung gender. So, nandyan yung pagiging feminine or masculine, or yung combination ng femininity and masculinity na androgyny. Okay, having both of those masculine and feminine characteristics. Okay, now Ito yung ating genderbread. So, sa identity mo, gaano ka kalalaki or gaano ka kababae. Sa gender expression mo, gaano ka lambot or gaano ka katigas. Sa biological sex mo, gaano yung pagkalalaki or pagkababae mo. Kasi ito based sa biological or physical. Kanino ka attracted? Hindi ka ba attracted kahit kanino? Or attracted ka sa mga lalaki, kapwa mo, or sa mga opposite mo na babae? Or wala kang attraction kahit kanino? Yan. So yan yung sinasabi natin na gender-bread identity natin. Okay? So going back, one, sexuality is dependent on the physical features. Kaya doon natin siya ina-identify. Most of the time, one, sexuality and gender orientation are generally the same. However, biological sex and gender are two different things. So alam na natin yung difference ng dalawang yan. Yung biological sex, naka-assign na yan pagkapanganak sa atin, dependent on the physical feature. Pero yung gender identity, learn. It goes beyond the physical domain. Okay? Now, meron tayong tinatawag na gender roles, which ang gender ay talagang mga roles. These are societal expectation. Ano ini-expect sa'yo ng society as man or as a woman? Paano ka dapat kumilos? Di ba ng mga bata tayo sinasabi, ito, kababae mong tao or kalalaki mong tao, ang daldal mo. Di ba may mga ganon? Because everyone has basic idea of how men and women should act and behave. Men are assumed to be strong and dominant, while women are perceived to be submissive and demure. However, gender and biological sex are not always the same. Okay? So, hindi siya pareho. One, sexual orientation manifests itself in the relationship. A guy who is attracted to girl is considered heterosexual. Pero pag hindi, ay homosexual na yun. Okay, so ngayon, ang daming mga homosexuals, diba? LGBT, IA++. There are more than 260 gender roles. No, at counting pa yan. Padami ng parami. Depende doon sa tinatawag natin na masculinity and femininity level, or depende din sa kanino ka attracted. Okay, now, yung sexual identity and gender orientation, meron tayong tinatawag na SOGI, di ba? Yun yung sexual orientation and gender identity expression, kaya siya SOGI. Underlie the concept of the self. We express our sexuality through individuality. Our beliefs and behavioral lifestyles are based on our own perception of sexuality. However, while gender orientation and sexual identity are deemed to be social construct, it is important to highlight our self-expression and become more responsible in doing so. So, ito, magagawa lang natin to kung meron tayong basic belief about sex, gender, and behavior. We should take note that our behavior in various situations would entail consequences. We need to realize what are the effects of such action. So we have to regulate our behavior. We cannot totally say that we can control our sexual urge, but we can manage. No? We can modify it. No? Yeah. So including our sexual behavior. So ano mga pwede natin gawin? Tandaan natin ang sexual intercourse or yung tinatawag na copulation ay meron itong consequence. Pag sinabing copulation or sexual intercourse, ito yung act of sexual intercourse where a male organ enters the female reproductive tract. And many teenagers are engaging in this because they are overwhelmed with the sensation. In addition, most teenagers who have sex with their partners often rationalize the act by claiming that they love each other, hindi ba? And are ready to be committed to each other. However, if the woman is fertile during the time of intercourse, pregnancy is likely to occur and will last approximately 9 months before the birth of the child. So, having a child entails big responsibility, okay? And should not merely be a consequence of an impulsive moment. Kaya, we have to take care of our body. Sometimes, we are not educated sa sex, magkakaroon talaga tayo ng maling paniniwala. And we have to know our body. Ano bang effect kapag tayo ay nag-engage sa sexual activity? Ayan yung early pregnancy. And siyempre sa mga babae, malaki ang physical risk, especially kung wala ka pang 24, 25 years old kasi hindi pa ready ang katawan mong magbuntis. Aside from that, meron pang risk of pagkakunan, miscarriage, andyan yung emotional stress or health risk. Okay, early pregnancy may result to dropping out of school. Okay, pregnancy not only affect females, no? Kasi yung mga lalaki din, since they will be burdened by the responsibility of caring for a new child, nandun din yung stress sa kanila. Okay? And syempre, baka hindi na rin makapagtuloy sa pag-aaral at ganun din, mahirapan sa pagdadala ng pamilya dahil nga bata pa. Ang isa pang consequence ay ang pagkakaroon ng tinatawag natin na sexually transmitted diseases. STDs is passed on by means of exchange of fluids or genital contact. Among the common diseases are syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and genital warts. Symptoms of these sexually transmitted diseases include a burning sensation during urination, warts, at nangyayari ito if you do not take care of your body by engaging in multiple sexual partners. Okay? So, this may entail medication, in some cases surgery. However, there are cases that it may affect your reproductive function. And worse, it may result to death. So, yun ang magiging malaking problema natin. Meron ding pwedeng makamatay, sabi. Then yung HIV, syempre, alarming ang HIV dahil sa it could lead to AIDS. No? Very nasa less than 1% yung nagkakaroon ng HIV. So especially yung mga early diagnosed, ang nakaka-recover pa, gumagaling. However, no, kapag untreated ang HIV, nagli-lead na yan sa AIDS. At pagka ganun, compromised na yung immune system, parang death sentence na yun. Papahabain na lang yung buhay mo. Okay? Now, how does one acquire sexually transmitted disease? So, alam na natin din, no? Unprotected sex with multiple partners, irresponsible sexual behavior, okay, yung mga mahilig sa party-party. Aside from the health risk, no, it may also ruin relationship and create negative stigma about people with STD and disrupt school and employment. Kaya nga it is important that adolescents should make responsible decisions with regards to their sexuality and behavior. Okay? And so here are the ways, no, para magkaroon tayo ng responsible sexual behavior. Do not forget your worth. Respect your own body. This would mean taking care of one's body and avoiding activities that undermine one's worth or respect. So tandaan natin yan, ha? Walang ibang re-respeto sa inyo kundi ang inyong mga sarili. Excuse me. So, maturity in thoughts and in deeds. Okay? So maging mature tayo sa pag-iisip natin dahil sa sometimes yung impulse natin nandyan no? But we have to be objective, rational, and calm. Huwag padala sa emotion. And let's be guided by our own belief or personal values. Maging grounded tayo doon. Being future-oriented also. Isipin mo na lang kapag ginawa mo ito, ano yung mga consequences ng action mo, ano yung pwede maging impact nito sa sa buhay mo. Okay? Ayan, so naintindihan natin na marami sa mga klase ninyo ang wala because yung bagyong Julina ay signal number 2. Medyo malaki talaga yung impact nito sa ating online classes ngayon. In fact, walang klase ang mga nasa basic ed. Okay, so I'm now giving you the floor to ask questions with regard to sex, sexuality, sexual behavior, and others. Question, if you are shy, pwede namang i-type in ang inyong mga tanong. Let's talk about sex. So, ibig sabihin ay malinaw na sa inyo ang lahat na may kinalaman sa sex. Ayan. Wala nang tanong? So, I'd just like to remind you that on Friday, yung ating assessment, yung assessment natin ay malit lang na 5% lang yan sa kabuuan ng inyong grade, kaya lang siya, madali lang siya. Okay.